My name is Gabriele. I'm coming from Germany and I'm working at the head office of the EMS, Evangelical Mission in Solidarity. That is a fellowship of 28 churches and mission societies in Europe, Africa, Asia and the Middle East. And for this conference here in Japan, I was asked to reflect on the experience we did in Germany after the Holocaust. So I have my own personal approach because I belong to the second generation after World War II. My father has been a soldier, and so the war had always been a topic in our family, but never the question what happened to the Jews or other victim groups emerged in our family discussions. Only then, when I had the chance to go to the United States to continue my theological studies, I met Jewish people for the first time and with awareness. And then I realized, oh, there's much work to do. Because first and foremost, I had to deal with my German identity as a woman and as a Christian. And that led me also to my dissertation project. And it was a struggle, because the challenge has been not jump easily to the victim groups, but rather to reflect what does it mean to be German in light of what happened some years ago. And that was the beginning of a difficult journey for myself. For instance, how can we reach out to those generations who had been heavily damaged and injured and extinguished by my forefathers, grandfathers' generation? They never talked about it. And I realized my own generation had been paralyzed by that experience. Then I learned more about how churches were dealing with that experience. At the beginning, the first decades after World War II, they were also silent. Well, they did the guilt declaration in 1945, but that was primarily because of the pushing of the ecumenical community. And it took them a long time and many discussions, controversies, that people opened up and realized almost each family was somehow intertwined, tangled with that story. So during the process, various windows opened up to deal with that story. It was buried in the unconscious collective awareness, but educational efforts helped to open up the ears and eyes what was still there. Most important, I think, had been also encounters. Young people, volunteers, traveled abroad and met people who had been injured, who had been hurt deeply by the National Socialism. And those encounters helped the next generation, on one hand, to realize what has happened, on the other hand, to build bridges of reconciliation. But one of the lessons we learned, it takes decades, it takes generations to overcome such an abyss, such a devastation which we can't grasp. How can you kill in an industrial way millions of people? How is it possible that racism took such a format that you exclude whole sections of your own communities because Jewish people have lived in Europe for centuries in a peaceful way? Well, there were times of exclusion, but they were part, and many of them took an important role in our communities. But there were other victim groups also, like the communists or handicapped people. So the churches had to look how they were involved in letting go those people being deported and killed. But also homosexuals. For instance, this group, it took the churches 70 years to speak up and to remember what had happened to them. It's a long way to go, but it's very important that we as the following generations face that history and that we are willing to build bridges of reconciliation.